Hello. In this episode, we are going to learn how to use AWS Cloud9 IDE. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, I have been using this online IDE for many years, and I'm really happy about it. And I think it is possibly the fastest way to get started with Ruby on Rails. So you don't have to set up anything on your local machine. You just have a browser tab where you have your whole development environment and from which you can run the console, browse your files, and open a preview of your web application. And yeah, the thing I love most is that you can get started as fast as possible. You don't have to be tied to any specific hardware. You can run it from your mom's computer, whatever, and it costs nearly nothing. So if I open my billing dashboard this month, having 4 environments and using them often, I've spent just like $2.70. So it's going to be like under $10 by the end of the month. Now is the 13th of February. So in this episode, we're going to learn how to set up and use the Cloud9 development environment, how we can install a new Rails 7 application, connect Github SSH, connect Heroku, and deploy to Heroku. So first of all, you have to be logged into your AWS account or create one. Next, I'm going to type Cloud9. Here we are. Why is it taking so long? I will maybe restart the window. Yeah, so I've opened the AWS Cloud9, and here I have a few environments. Now I'm in the region Frankfurt. You can choose the region that is closest to where you are or where your potential users are. Well, better where you are because this is a development environment. And I'm going to click Create an Environment. Rails 7 demo. Next step. Now here I'm going to create a new instance, and I'm going to select an instance type. Usually T2 micro is enough, but we're going to select the slightly bigger one just to have a bit more computing power. And here, importantly, I'm going to select Ubuntu server, not Amazon Linux, because it is easier to find the commands to run on Ubuntu, and it is more common than using Amazon Linux. Next step, and create environment. Now it's going to take a few moments to actually create the environment. Okay, so here we have a new Cloud9 development environment. On the sidebar, we can see that we've got a file navigation system. We've got a README, for example, that we can edit. We can save by pressing Ctrl S. We can leave this tab by clicking Option W or Command W if you are working on a Windows machine. We can switch tabs and so on. Then we've got a terminal window. We can open multiple terminal windows. Then before continuing, we can go to preferences and set tabs to be 2. Then somewhere here you have a setting to change it from dark mode to light mode or whatever. So you can explore these settings. And importantly, before we continue, we are going to go to our AWS account and go to Services, EC2. And here you see I've got 5 EC2 instances running on this account. And this one is running, is the one that we have just created for our Cloud9. And if we go down, we'll see volumes. And we've got a few volumes. And you see, by default, the one that we've just created has 10 gigabytes. And that's not enough. So very soon in your development process, you will have a message like not enough space on your Cloud9 environment. And not have this problem, we will select this volume, go to Actions, Modify Volume, and set the size to be like 40 gigabytes, for example. I click Modify. And now go into our EC2 dashboard, go to the instances that are running, select this one, and reboot the instance so that it actually starts using these 40 gigabytes that we have assigned to it. And you just do it once for this environment, but long term, it's going to have enough memory, enough space. And you see, we are in the process of reconnecting to the environment, so it's going to also take a few moments. Okay, so we have reconnected, and it says unable to run AWS Toolkit, restart the IDE. Let's click the link. It will just refresh the current page. It's totally fine. Okay, so it has refreshed. And now I can see if we've already actually got Ruby on Rails installed. For this, we've concluded the setup of our Cloud9 environment. Now we're going to install Ruby on Rails. Let's see, Ruby version. And we already have a Ruby version installed and Rails version. And we have Rails 5 installed. Now, these are already old versions, so the latest version of Rails is 7.02 and of Ruby is 3.1.0. So we will want to install the latest version of Ruby and Rails. We are going to say RVM list, so Ruby version manager list. And we've got this one version of Ruby installed. And we're going to update the RVM. So we will say RVM get head. And we will say RVM install Ruby 3.1.0. And it's going to install the latest version of Ruby. Next, we're going to say that we want the latest version of Rails. So we will say gem install Rails version 7.0.2. And it's going to install the latest version of Rails. In the meantime, we can open the other terminal tab and say gem update bundler. Yeah, so it is also good when we are starting a new Cloud9 environment to have everything up to date. And actually, you don't have to remember all these commands and you don't have to type them after me. I've got them all in this tiny tutorial on my blog. So I will leave the links in the description, all the commands that we are running. So we have installed the latest version of Ruby. And actually, we will say RVM default use the latest version of Ruby. So going to a terminal, we'll say RVM default use 3.1.0. And now if we type RVM list, we're using the newest version of Ruby. Okay. And we have installed Rails 7. So if we type Ruby version, we have the latest version of Ruby and Rails version 7.02. Okay, looks good. And it would be also good for us to type all these commands, gem update Rails, update system, and sudo apt update, just to see that we are definitely running the latest versions of everything. So gem update Rails, gem update system. We can actually do this in a separate terminal tab so that it is faster. Yeah, and this gem update system is going to actually take quite a while to update the Ruby gems. Okay, so this actually took like 5 minutes, but we have done gem update system and we have done gem update Rails. And just in case, we will also say sudo apt update to see if we have anything else we can update. Again, we've just installed a new environment and it already had some things pre-installed. So we want to see to it that we've got all the latest versions installed. Okay, so now we've got Ruby on Rails updated. We've got all the local gems updated and we can install Postgresql and Redis. So we will say sudo apt install Postgresql and Redis. Yes, and enter. Now I will close this lower tab. It's more comfortable for me to have all the tabs together with the terminals visible here. Okay, so PostgreSQL has been installed. And now we're going to create a new PostgreSQL user. So we will say sudo su postgres, and we'll say create user interactive we will add the role Ubuntu, super user yes, and quit or exit. Okay, so we've created a Postgresql user and we've got Ruby on Rails installed. What is next? Next, we can install, well, we can create a new Ruby on Rails app. So how can we do it? We will just say Rails new. Let's name the app Twitter. The database will be Postgresql. The CSS is going to be either Bootstrap or Tailwind. Let's say Tailwind. And create new app. And you see it is creating a new Rails 7 application. Looks nice. It is installing the pggem, UMA, and you see input maps by default, Tailwind, and Turbo Rails. So we're going to have Hotfire and Stimulus.js installed by default. Here you see Turbo install and Stimulus install. And you see it's also installing the gem foreman so that we can start a local Procfile. Okay, now we've created a new Rails 7 application. We can navigate to it. I will say cd Twitter, and we are in the Twitter directory. Let's have a look at this new Rails application. We've got a gem file. We've got a Procfile.dev to start the server. Anyway, let's try to start the server. I will say Rails server and see what happens. Okay, so it has started a server and it is listening to port 8080. How can we preview it? I'm going to press here preview running application, and see it has opened it in a sidebar tab. I will open it in the browser, so by clicking this button. And you see we've got to allow requests. You have to unlock this host. We can copy this command and paste it to config environment development.rb. So here I will say config hosts, and we're going to allow this particular host. Or if you don't want to allow this particular host, you can just say config.hosts equals nil. And this way you will not have to manually say the name of a Cloud9 environment. You will allow all hosts. So now I will stop the server and run the server once again. Now refresh. And we could not find database. Okay, so we are going to create a database by typing bin rails db create. I'll do it from the console. So bin rails db create. We've created a database. Now db migrate, but I think there will be nothing to migrate. And again, I will say Rails server. Going back here, you see we have started a new Rails 7 application. Looks good, but a more correct way to start a Rails 7 application would be by not typing Rails server, but by starting through the Procfile.dev. Now, if we open this Procfile.dev, we will see it starts the Rails server at a specific port, and it also watches Tailwind changes, so that if we add any new Tailwind classes, they will be also compiled. Now, what starts this Procfile.dev? If we open our bin folder, we have this dev thing, and it starts foreman that starts Procfile.dev. So we need to have gem foreman installed locally. And I think it has been done when we were just installing the application. Anyway, we can, just in case, you can say gem install foreman. And now we can say .bin dev. Okay, no such directory. Let's go back. Yeah. So what have I done wrong? I was saying, let's see. It should be ./bin/dev. And you see we've started the server once again. If we go to our tab, you see nothing is running. Why is nothing running? Because to run it on Cloud9, we need to use the port 8080, but not port 3000. So going back to our Procfile.dev, we will change the port from 3000 to 8080. And now I will restart the server. So ./bin/dev. Going back to the step, and it is running the server correctly. So we are not using Rails S anymore. Now we are using ./bin/dev to start our Rails server. This is a more correct approach to start with Foreman in Rails 7. Okay, so we are running a new Rails 7 application, and let's try to add a migration. I will say Rails generate scaffold, post, title, and body. That will be a text. Now Rails DB migrate and Rails server. Okay, now let's go to our /posts. And here we have our post. Let's say new post. Create post. Back to post. Okay, so our database works. Looks fine. And let's see if we can do any Tailwind changes. If Tailwind is actually working. If I will go to app, views, posts, index, for example. Okay, it still hasn't initialized the HTML, so it is not highlighted. Okay, now it is. Looks fine. Let's say we want to change the background. Let's say background red. Now it looks like Tailwind isn't running at the moment correctly. I wonder why. I will again start the server. .bin.dev. Okay, so now I restarted the server. It has recompiled Tailwind and it is running correctly. So you see, we have all this Tailwind styling and we have changed the color of the button and it has compiled the right color. Now, if we change the color once again, let's make it red 500, refresh the page, you see the color has changed again. So it is working. And if we were running the server not through /bin/dev, but just Rails S, then the Tailwind changes would not be compiled each time. So let's say I will change the color. Let's make it green 500. And you see, it isn't there. Why is it so? Because it did not recompile Tailwind. So we need to have this Tailwind watched in. And again, that's why we are starting the Rails server through bin.dev, but not through Rails S. Again, I refresh, and you see it is working. Okay, so now we've created a new Rails 7 application. We have understood how to work with Tailwind, and now we want to possibly save our changes and commit to GitHub. So I will say git init, git status, git add all, git commit message create app. And well, we want to deploy to GitHub. So let's create a new GitHub application. I'm going to GitHub, going to create a new app, new repository. I'll make it in this organization. So 64 Cloud9. It'll be a public app and create repository. And now I want to push to this repository. So I will add this remote origin. We are going to connect via SSH. And I will set the branch to main and push to main. I will say yes. And permission is denied. Why is permission denied? Because we did not configure SSH access. So now we are going to configure GitHub SSH access. And this is also quite easy to do. So to do this, I've also got a small guide. we're going to generate an SSH key, and you'll need to input your email, not my email, the one that you're using in GitHub. So generate a key, enter the file. You can just click enter, enter a passphrase. For simplicity, you can try doing it without a passphrase. So I click enter once again, and we have created a new key. Okay, next we need to say that we want to use this key locally. So we are going to run these two commands. Okay, and yeah, one unprotected private key file because we did not set a password, but this is fine for now. Next, we're going to open this GitHub SSH creator. So GitHub settings SSH new. And we're going to add this SSH key that we have generated. Now you see, we can open this file from the terminal. So here we have open. Okay, it is the private key. I think I don't need to open it. I need to open the public key. So I'm clicking open. I'm going to copy the key and I'm going to paste it here. And we'll need to add a title. I'll say Rails 7 demo. Now, obviously, you shouldn't let other people see your keys, and I'm going to delete my keys after I finish this video. So I have added my public key to GitHub SSH creator. We can see that it has been added here. It has never been used. That's fine. And again, I just clicked on the key, open, and here I have this key. I can copy. And next, we are going to check that we are connected to GitHub. So I will say SSH test, I guess, that we are connected to GitHub via SSH. So going back here, SSH, Git and GitHub. Hello, you've been successfully authenticated. Okay, now I can say git push. Git push set upstream. Okay. And I think we have pushed to GitHub. So yes, our commit has been successfully pushed to GitHub. Looks good. And on this, we are done with GitHub. Now, as a final step, let's push our new application to Heroku. So I will say Heroku create, Heroku command not found. And let's install Heroku. So I will try Heroku, login. Okay, how do we install Heroku? Okay, so sudo snap install Heroku Classic. Okay, now Heroku create. Okay, so we need to log in. Press any key and it will open a browser to log in, and you can try logging in. But you see, you will get this IP address mismatch because of some of the Cloud9 settings. So you cannot log into Heroku via the browser. That is, well, a good way to log in. Instead, you will have to say Heroku login interactive. So you will have to input your email and your password. And this will most likely not work with two-factor authentication. So you'll have to either find a way to log into Heroku via SSH or just do it without two-factor authentication the way I did it just now. And now I can say Heroku create and git push Heroku main. And we've pushed our application to Heroku. So I think we are done with this episode. We have installed and configured Cloud9. We have created a new Rails 7 application on Cloud9. We have connected GitHub SSH, and we have pushed our new application to Heroku. This looks great to me. So thanks for being with me, and see you in other episodes. And if you would like to see any topics covered, comment, and I will hopefully come and work on this topic next. So goodbye.